are at day 8 of SIBF 2021. We're going to see today some very interesting stands. We're going to see some young authors, actually some of the youngest authors here. We're going to meet two 13-year-old authors. One of them has already written 3 books, as well as see very interesting interviews and catch the action today. Join me, check this out today at SIBF 2021. Now I'm here come across a very interesting individual who I actually bumped into the other day, so we're going to find out more about him, and that is Mr. Delroy Sims.
That's right, Delroy Constantine Sims.
Don't forget the double barrel, that's important.
Exactly, it happens all the time. So you're forgiven, it's okay, it's one of those things.
As I said, I bumped into you the other day. We were just walking around. I came across you guys. Actually, it was your friend Chris and his Jamaican accent that caught my attention. But you told me you're a psychologist, but I just found out that you've also written many books and you're a journalist as well as a psychologist. So let's hear a bit about that.
Well, initially I started becoming a writer when I made a complaint in the newspaper about my local area, a lot of accidents, and I wrote letters to the newspaper, and they loved it and they printed it, and I thought that's my motivation. But I moved over to psychology because it was a practical thing to do when I was younger. I always wanted to be a writer, but I didn't know how to go about doing it. But once I did my academic work as a student, I realized I was writing good essays, and I wrote for the student union, and they loved my work. But at the same time, I realized I've got a passion for writing. I thought, when I did my essays at university, I said, you keep on writing more than extended. And they said to me, you should write a book. And I did that in '95. And in 2001, I won an award at the Lambda Prize Award in New York for my book, The Greats to Boot. And the good thing is when Amazon came out with the internet, and that to me really made me more passionate about writing, because it gave me easy access to writing. Because I've been to publishers and they turned me down. But once I wrote a few books individually, then the publishers started to come to me. So I had about 5 publishing deals. But being here at the Sharjah Book Fair, it's been a wonderful experience. I have to say thank you to Sharjah. Thank you for the way they've organized. It's been a godsend. I've been to quite a few book fairs, but this is one of the best. And what I say to anyone is, you want to be a writer? Go for it. Don't think about it. Don't wait for that deal. Just go for it. And that's from a psychological point of view, in the sense that if you wait, nothing will ever happen. You've got to build yourself up, go out there and believe that you can do what you can do.
I mean, just thinking that as you were saying that, the fact that many people would have and do give up, don't they, on their dreams. You said you couldn't get a publishing deal as such in the beginning. Now many people would have just stopped. So what we can take away from this lesson is that, as you've said, if you have the passion, if you have the talent, just keep going. Don't give up, because some people just stop, don't they?
You have to keep going. The obstacles are sometimes in your mind, and sometimes because you create the obstacles in your mind, they're going to emanate themselves in your actions. So my thing is, move away from those obstacles as much as you can on a practical level and keep moving forward. And remember, failure is a part of learning. Failure is the best tool for learning. Too much success breeds complacency. So to me, when I get rejected or get bad reviews, I think, you know what? That's my mistake. I have to learn from it. Because too much backslash from other people makes me complacent, thinking I'm better than I really am.
Now, obviously we can't mention all of your books, and obviously we're going to show on the camera later on some of the books you have here, but these books you've brought along with you, are these some of your, I guess you could say, best-selling or most popular titles?
They're the most popular titles. I've done 50, and I guarantee you, only about 30% of them sell. The rest don't do so well. And for some reason, these books do extremely well.
Okay.
I never expect them to do that well, but because they're popular and accessible, they're easy to sell. I've done some very academic books, and they don't sell that well because I recognize it for the academic market. So that's my passion, but in terms of sales, these books are the best books for me, and they work extremely well.
Just to end, you're also a talented photographer, because I happened to, as we were talking earlier, I noticed a couple of awards that you had, and obviously we'll show them later on the camera. Tell us a bit about those awards. What are they, and when did you get them, and what exactly were they for?
And it so happens I got the Best Photographer Award and the Best Author Award, and it was judged by the people as opposed to a panel, and I got the most votes for that. And I'm most happy about getting it. And the person behind it was called Marsha, and the magazine is called Out and About. And I was surprised because I don't usually go for awards. I tend to shy away from them. Getting one was fine. When I had 2 or 4, hey, who nominated me? Because I didn't nominate myself. Because I definitely shy away from awards or anything ceremonial. And I tend to shy away from this, but every now and then, I'll do it. Fantastic.
Well, thanks for doing that with us, because it's been a very interesting interview, and thanks for spending the time and talking to us.
I appreciate it. Sharjah TV, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you.
Also, we saw many interesting performances, street performers doing wild and wacky performances. We saw a particular individual walking around, pulling really funny faces and putting on quite a performance for the visitors, as well as a team of street performers dressed in wild and wacky costumes, really wowing the audience, all of them walking around on stilts, making them very high. And that's just some of the daily street performers that we see here at SIBF 2021. And I'm sure we'll see more as we go along. So I'm here at the Arabic Language Academy Sharjah stand here in the SIBF 2021. I'm here with Russia, one of the people in charge at the center. We're going to understand what is the Arabic Language Academy and what are they doing here in SIBF 2021. Russia, so to give us a bit of an introduction, what is the Arabic Language Academy? Not everybody maybe have heard of it.
Yes, Arabic Language Academy is a governmental academy that supports Arabic language, teaching Arabic language for non-Arabic speakers, and also working in the hugest project around the Arabic and Islamic world, which is, as you know, the historical dictionary.
So before we talk about the historical dictionary, because I believe that's part of what you're doing here this year, how do you find it? Do you get a lot of people registering, a lot of students coming to learn Arabic?
Yes. Visitors here in Sharjah Book Fair this year, they are asking a lot about the historical dictionary. They want to understand what's the historical dictionary. So we are explaining for them that historical dictionary is following the development of the terminology, the Arabic word, because as you know, Arabic language is one of the richest language and one of the oldest language around the world. So we are explaining for them that this is the hugest project in the Islamic world and the Arabic world, and supported and under the supervision of Sheikh Sultan bin Muhammad al-Qasimi. So this is our main work here. Then we have other work regarding the non-Arabic speakers also.
So maybe a bit more about that. So the program for non-Arabs, how does that work? Is there a charge? Is it free? How does somebody register?
Yeah.
And what exactly are they taught?
Yes. At Arabic Language Academy in Sharjah, we have a center for teaching Arabic for non-Arabic speakers. We are dividing the students for 3 levels. And at the beginning, we are doing a diagnostic test just to check where they are. Then we are focusing more on speaking, and to speak al-Fusha, not the accent, not the local accent. It's free, and it's also supported by His Highness Sheikh Sultan bin Muhammad al-Qasimi. And we have it evening from 4 to 6 o'clock, 3 times a week.
And do you also have any programs that incorporate corporate, like companies who send their staff to you, universities who send their students, that kind of thing?
Yes, we have so many memorandum of understanding with Sharjah University, Academy for Arts in Sharjah. So and Sharjah TV also. We have a special schedule for them. We are just doing a flexible time for them according for sure to their times, and doing a special program for them.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for spending some time to talk to us.
Yeah, shukran jazeelan.
So today's latest updates at the SIBF 2021, UAE school children piloted drones at the Sharjah International Book Fair to learn the basics of aerodynamics. The drone experience workshop was led by fun robotics trainers Omar and Najat, and the workshop helped the students to explore the world of unmanned aerial vehicles, learn the concepts of aerodynamics and piloting, and to assemble and pilot the drone to fly and complete certain objectives around a fly circuit. We also saw a very interesting Emirati folk poetry by Emirati masters of rhyme Zaid al-Maysari and Abdullah bin Salim al-Qutbi, which presented to the audience with some of their best works in the UAE folk poetry. We also had a visit by the top US librarian. Ahmed bin Rakad al-Amri, the chairman of the Sharjah Book Authority, welcomed Dr. Carla Hayden, Librarian of Congress, USA, during her visit to SIBF at the Expo Center in Sharjah. Also, we saw that the 9-year-old girl is the youngest author at the fair this year. Selina Rafat Hamed is not yet 10, but she has already won an award for her story. Selina is the youngest author and poet to participate in the 40th edition of Sharjah International Book Fair. Her story, titled The Red Planet, won a Writers' Award at a competition held on the sidelines of SIBF. At a young age, Selina discovered her passion for reading and writing stories for children. She has written over 15 stories with encouragement from her family and friends. Also, we saw Gitanjali Rayo, a child prodigy, an inventor, scientist, STEM promoter, and the first child to be featured by Time magazine in 2020 as Kid of the Year. She's also the best-selling author of A Young Innovator's Guide to STEM. She's participating in the 40th edition, promoting her book. And also we saw a very interesting release that covers Emirati heritage, the heritage of customs, traditions, norms and social manners, and a comprehensive and defining book on Emirati heritage of customs called El Sana, authored by Abdullah Hamdan bin Dalmouk, the CEO of Hamdan bin Mohammed Heritage Center. It has been released at the 40th edition of the Sharjah International Book Fairs, and this book was one of the many books being released at the mega event in the last week, and the signing ceremony was in fact attended by a large number of visitors, and many spent hours to interact with the author. And he said that the message of cultural heritage and preservation is of utmost national interest, adding it is also a social responsibility and our role at the Hamdan Heritage Center to highlight this great cultural heritage through informative and educational materials. And the launch of Sana at SIBF was warmly received by a large crowd of visitors from different nationalities who flocked to HHC Pavilion to acquire a signed copy of the book. Just some of the new and exciting updates here at SIBF 2021. I'm here outside the Spanish Pavilion, who are the guests of honor for the SIBF 2021. And we can see here to my left some information signs in this section here, which talks about Andalusia. Now, Andalusia is a name we've all heard, but in fact, not many of us know the history behind this amazing era and place, where in fact, it was the golden age of Europe, and many scientific technology and knowledge was pioneering from this region of Andalusia, things that we still use in our modern day, in modern time, from the simplest of things to the most advanced things. We find lots of them can trace their roots and their invention and their theories back to this golden era of science, technology, and this is some information is given here about some of the famous landmarks, as well as lots of other information at the Spanish Pavilion as the guest of honor 2021 at Sharjah International Book Fair. The Islamic Golden Age started with the rise of Islam and the establishment of the first Islamic state there in 622. So many inventions and so many scientific knowledge and technology for us to mention, but here are just some highlights. The introduction of paper in the 10th century enabled Islamic scholars to easily write manuscript. Arab scholars also saved classic works of antiquity by translating them into various languages. The Arabs assimilated the scientific knowledge of the civilizations they had overrun, including the ancient Greek, Roman, Persian, Chinese, Indian, Egyptian, and Phoenician civilizations. Scientists advanced the fields of algebra, calculus, geometry, chemistry, biology, medicine, and astronomy, and many forms of art flourished during the Islamic Golden Age, including ceramics, metalwork, textiles, illuminated manuscript, woodwork, and calligraphy. So as an overview, we see that the Golden Age refers to the period and the history of Islam traditionally dated from the 8th century to the 13th century, during which much of the historically Islamic world was ruled by various caliphates, and science, economic development, and cultural works truly flourished during this era, and we still live benefiting and taking from these science and concepts and technologies that were developed during the golden age of Andalusia. Every day at the Sharjah International Book Fair, we have here at the Sharjah Private Education Authority wonderful activities where they interact with the children on a daily basis. So sometimes we hear storytelling. In fact, only 2 days ago, I heard a very small Indian girl speaking fluent Arabic, which was a really nice piece there, as she spoke like a native Arab, reading a classical Arabic book. Today, again, we see some kind of storytelling activities going on where the children can really get involved, and this is all courtesy of Sharjah Private Education Authority and happens on a daily basis at various times. I'm here with Candy Summers, one of the youngest authors here. She wrote a book about a year ago, so we're going to find out what is this book and how has it been going here at ISBF 2021. Candy, so as I mentioned, you actually wrote this book when you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us a bit about what is Going Home all about?
My book is basically about a girl from outer space who crash lands into Earth. And so she has to figure out how to fix her ship and get herself back home.
You wrote this when you were 12, but I believe at the moment you're working on a new book.
Yeah.
What is the new book? Something similar? Is it a continuation? Is it something completely different?
My book is it's based on something different, and it's basically about a girl who has powers, and her friend she doesn't like to use her powers, she ignores them. But her friend gets kidnapped, so she has to save him, so she ends up being forced to use her unwanted powers.
So she basically has to step up and become the hero.
Yeah.
How has the book been doing? So from what I've heard from some other interviews, initially when you came at the first book fair, you came with literally just one copy, I believe.
Yeah.
And you've obviously come with a lot more this time. How have the sales been so far? How many copies have you sold roughly?
We've sold over 250 books so far, not including just at this book fair.
And you're going to be here right until the end of the book if anybody wants to come down, for example,
Yeah.
and buy the book. And can they get it signed by you, or is that something extra?
Yeah, it's included with the
With the
package.
price. That's good because that some people like that. Well, that's great. Thanks for spending some time to talk to us, and I hope I'm going to get a copy myself anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're coming to another young author named Sanit. Now, Sanit, I believe that your first book you wrote, you were only 10 years of age.
Yeah, I published my first book around 4 years ago. Thoughts of a 10-year-old. It was more or less a book that symbolized my thoughts. Actually, I may have published my first book at the age of 10, but I've been writing since the age of 5. I used to have these short story collections called Good Boy when I was in year 1 and 2 to try and emphasize the importance of moral values, the basic day-to-day habits. And then I began to write about the things that I noticed in my day-to-day life, the things that I found needed attention. So in my first publication, it was my thoughts put together symbolized over the years in the transitional period of the age of 10.
And how did you find, did you sell a lot of copies of that book, The Thoughts of a 10-Year-Old?
Oh, yes.
And then that led you on, I believe, to write another 2 books. So you could tell us about those.
Yes, actually, I wrote my books because I really enjoy writing, and in 2019, it was the year of tolerance in the UAE, so I published my second book to commemorate that tolerance. Tolerance, I felt, and I still feel, is a dire need in today's world, in today's geopolitics, and if we can achieve this as a species, a lot of our problems would be eradicated. And just a few months back, during the pandemic time, I came up with my third publication, an anthology of expressions which symbolizes the perceptions and ideologies throughout the years of characters who lived during different time periods, bringing in the element of conflict and how human emotions are best represented in these type of scenarios.
Interesting. And did they also, how have you seen the sales of them so far? Did you manage to, for example, how was the impact here at the SIBF 2021?
Actually, my third publication, I'm yet to completely launch it. I just launched it a few days back at my session, which was Humanity on the 6th of November. Tolerance for Happiness, I launched 2 years ago at SIBF, and I have made quite a lot of sales in line with the Tolerance Initiative that year.
Great. Well, good luck for your future. We look forward to seeing some future. Who knows, maybe next year we'll see you again with another book.
But most definitely.
And thank you for taking time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
So that's it. We've come to the end of day 8 of SIBF 2021. So very interesting interviews, very interesting performances, very interesting information. Join us next time on day 10 of SIBF. Until then, I leave you